Welcome back, Hector.
Thank you.
Yours sound like it was just natural. Did you have a need to study something to augment or to complement this natural talent of speaking?
Yes and no. Yes, in that I did go to study at what then was called technicons, and I think they are called Universities of Technology now. It was TNT, Technical Northern Transvaal.
I see, yes, in Soshanguve.
In Soshanguve, yeah.
Yeah,
TNT.
it's part of Tshwane University of Technology now.
Yes, yeah. So I studied there. I studied public administration.
Yes.
My desire was to study communications because I always knew and always had the desire to be in the media somehow as an entertainer. Actually, believe it or not, because of that earlier influence I spoke about last time, the influence from my teen years with television and radio music and seeing Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie on TV, I thought, maybe I can also sing. I think it was for the glamour of it, and this was, I was just attracted by this glitz and glamour. And I thought maybe I should also sing. And I did try to sing, but fortunately I discovered early that no, you cannot sing. And often people's responses can help you, right?
But you were never put down.
People when you are singing, and then look like this. And I'm glad that I noticed that early, and then I stopped. So then my question was then, so what do I do with this passion that I have? Now I'm done with matric. So what do I do? What do I study? And I wanted to actually study music. In that I thought, if I cannot sing, maybe I can play an instrument or become a composer or something, a producer or something. So I was just so serious about this entertainment and music thing. And I even went to enroll. My first enrollment after matric was at a music school called FUBA, Federated Union of Black Artists. It was
yes, I remember FUBA. Yeah.
Newtown.
Yes. It's still there.
I think Sipo Sipamla or somebody like Sipo.
I think it's still there, isn't it?
I'm not so sure because there were two of them. I think FUBA is no more because there were two of them. Remember, there was Funda. There was Funda Center in Soweto, and then there was FUBA. So I'm not so sure which one of them is still around, but I think FUBA is not there anymore. No, I don't think it's still there. So I registered there and I wanted to study an instrument, and I chose a guitar at that time. But I dropped out soon after. Just after 2 months into it. We're doing music theory but for some weird reason, I just couldn't grasp it.
Is it?
I just couldn't wrap my mind around those scales, trebles, and play like this and all that. And also the atmosphere. I had to travel from Mabopane to Newtown by train.
That was a stretch.
Waking up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. just to catch the train, and the smell in the train, people squashed in there. That was just too much for me. And carrying this guitar, it was just too much for me. And I arrived there, I'm sleepy. So it was just not a conducive atmosphere for me. How do I want to put this? FUBA was fine, but I think just what surrounded
your conditions were just not conducive for
my conditions. Yes, thanks for that. I think that's the word I was looking for. My conditions were just not okay for me to continue. And I decided to drop out. I think it was just 2 months. I was like, no, I cannot go on like this. Waking up so early, go there. Nah. I'm not. And it's not that one was not passionate enough, but maybe also the trying to understand, because remember they go theory and Mozart and they tell you some classical stuff, and I was like, And I think now in my mind I was pop-minded. Show me how to be my Lionel Richie. So, but they have to start with the fundamentals. Only now I realize, you need to start with the basics, the fundamentals. So I dropped out. Then after dropping out, it was a matter of, then, okay, young man, you've dropped out of music school. What are you going to do now? Then I remembered a friend, Paul. Paul, we used to discuss our future together, traveling from Madidi to Mawupani. He was going to Dr. Murisili High School. I was going to Mawupani High, but we were using the same bus. Then one day we were discussing as teenagers, what are we going to do with our future? And I told him, Paul, you know what? I'm not sure. He wanted to be a teacher. I was like, I'm not so sure if I want to be a teacher. I'm interested in entertainment, man. And Paul told me, Hector, you could make a good radio DJ. I was like, really? Yeah. He was like, yeah. Bob my banner. So because later on in my life, I was introduced to radio, not Radio Setswana, Radio Bantu then. I was introduced to Radio Bob later by my sister and Paul, my friend. Hey, Radio Bob. Then I heard Lawrence Dube, and then started, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But I was speaking English. I was fascinated with the Queen's language from when I was young. Here's a debate, Koskolo, So this guy was like, Hector, your passion for music and English, you could make a good radio DJ. And I was like, nah, I don't know. Although I used to wonder as a youngster how those people got into that radio thing, and I never really saw myself doing it, And until my friend told me that, this is what you should do.
This is your natural talent.
Yeah, and then I was like, no, so thank you for that, but I will see. I still want to do music, Then when I dropped out of FUBA, then I was at home, and then I was faced with that choice. Okay, it is 1990. You are at home the whole year.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? And then one day when I was at home, my aunt played Radio Bob all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to Radio Bob, Bob Mabena and them, and Vincent Maseko, and I was like, these guys are sounding cool. And then the words of Paul came ringing in my mind. Rector, you could do this as well. And I was like, wait a minute. Maybe Paul had a point. I could do this. Since I could not go and do music, how about presenting the thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I listened to Bob Mabena, how he used to introduce Tears for Fears and Slimy Fisher and Kid Sweat, man, I was like, wow, this sounds so good. And guess what? Like I said, whenever I put my mind to something, when I looked at Lapoloha, I told myself, I'm going to be on TV. So as soon as I heard Bob Mabena and George Manyosi and Ben Dugobe on Radio Bob, I told myself, I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to be on radio. And guess what? I tried to go on radio.
Yes.
That year, 1990, I was 17 years old. I was just 17. And I went to Radio Bob because I finished my matric. Let me check. I finished my matric at, because remember I was forwarded or something. I started school early. Yeah, I started school very early.
Yes.
So I think by 16 I was done, or something. Then at the age of 17, here am I. I tried to go and join Radio Bob.
Wow. I
caught the charter bus, went to Radio Bob.
You went to that. It was in Mafikeng.
It was in Mafikeng. And fortunately, with the part of Mawupani where my aunt lived, may her soul rest in peace, Aunt Louisa, where she lived, was just a walk away from the station where the charter bus was passing, to Block S, Mawupani.
Yeah.
So I just walked to Block S and caught the Bergen charter bus that went straight to Mafikeng, via Harangu and all those pieces on the N4, straight to Mafikeng. Then without an appointment, because I wrote letters to these guys and say, hey, I want to be a radio DJ, I'm a young man from Mawupani, They never even responded to my letters. I suspect they saw the English or already. Then when they didn't respond 3 times, fine. Okay, no, then there was a letter of regret that came. And I loved that letter because it had the Radio Bob logo. For me, it was like, here am I touching Radio Bob. They sent me a letter. But inside it was regret. Or now we regret to tell you we are not hiring now, blah, 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 blah. Then I decided, okay, I'm going to go there personally.
Yeah.
The motivation. So can you see this?
Absolutely. Inbuilt.
I was just a doer. Okay, I'm going to do this. I just went straight to Mahikeng. Then Mudisa and Edgar Kole, they told me nicely, you know, and I didn't even have an appointment, like I said. And I just arrived, and fortunately, you know, the guys were kind enough to see me, and they just told me nicely. It was not a long meeting. They told me, young man, let's go back to school. See us later. I was so dejected. For them, it was easy to say go back to school. For me, it was rejection.
Yes.
And when you are young and you feel, oh no, man, I can be the next Bob Marley, or you know, and you just feel ready, even though maybe you might not be ready, just a youthful feel, you know?
Yes.
So I felt dejected and rejected, or Mara, these guys, no, why don't they give me a chance? And then I asked them, so what is it? What will it take for me, for you guys to take to hire me? And one lady who was, they used to have PROs in those days. Remember the days of PROs?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, clubs like Chiefs would have Ului Chakwane. It's a PRO. It's a popular thing.
Yes.
So Radio Bob had a PRO, but I was Cynthia Poko. And I was Poko, Cynthia, umbrella, young man, go and read a lot to improve your English. Read. Yo, I read, Sam. I made sure that I read.
Yeah.
You know what? I was reading everything I came across. I used to collect the Reader's Digest. Yo,
Yeah, I remember
I finished them all. All in search of English, but I got to be able to speak this English like Bob Marley and Bendigo. And when I listened to those guys, and I noticed that actually these guys have a point. I'm not speaking English like these guys. These guys are speaking English, man. You know, Radio Bob, if you remember, was a cream. It was the school of broadcasting for everyone. It was a prestigious place to be at.
Absolutely.
So I listened to all those guys, and I was like, wow, I think she has a point. So I made sure, okay, your debate English is not enough. So work improve IT.
Yeah.
Then the next year, 1991, I applied. My aunt told me, it's again, Hector, go to school, register for something, at least, so that if this entertainment thing of yours at the radio doesn't work, you know, and you know, all the adults would advise us that way, our sisters and aunts and parents would tell you, so that you can have something to fall back onto. And I'm glad that I listened to her. In that I went and then I registered for TNT. You're not TUT. And this is where they, you know, and I'm glad they advised me that way. Now you get to interact with the world. You know, it's a campus is a microcosm of society.
Yeah.
You have everything there. You have politics. I mean, that's where I got to meet people like Supra Mahuma Bello, you know, China Dodovu, you know, those great politicians from the Northwest Province, and others in the national government, you know, who I know personally from school. And now, okay, you know, we're learning politics, we're learning this, learning that, and learning languages. Or, there are other people, Chivenda, Stonga, people, young people from townships, from villages. It's a give Mengal moves. You know, you know, and you are exposed to this vibrant environment, and then in that environment, I was studying public administration, and my choice for that subject, it was because it had two subjects: communication and communication. Because TNT didn't have communication. They didn't. I tried to apply first for Unibo on that year when I was still at home, 1990. You know, why did I apply for Unibo? Unibo was in Mafikeng, across Radio Bob. So I knew, at least let me study across, not far from my tree, you know. And they rejected me because I didn't have an exemption. Remember, because I failed maths, I only got, you know, Brasem, at our age, most young people don't know, there was something during that system called symbol S.
Yes.
School living, you know. Or, they give it a Solang, okay, symbol N, Solang. Solanga, I get out one.
Our certificate.
So they wanted an exemption. And the funny thing is, the year before and many years before that, apparently to get into Unibo, you didn't really need an exemption for some subject. But that very year, from 1991, the year I wanted to go there, they said, we've lifted up the standards now. Everyone must have an exemption. That I was devastated. Or I was going to be in Mahikeng, man, just next to my dream. And then I applied to TNT, which was not far from Block S, my aunt said, no, there's an institution just around the corner. I applied there. They didn't have, communication, because at UNIBO, they did have communication studies.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they needed maths, an exemption for that. I just don't understand. But anyway, at TNT, they didn't want an exemption, with technicons. And the subject I chose was because it didn't have maths, which is public administration, and that it had communication and communication. And I was like, at least, there's some element of communication in this. Then I just endured the other subjects like policy making and economics and all those. And I did quite well. I did understand, issues of communication, working economics and public administration. But it was like just knowledge, oh, no, this is very interesting. But I did not see myself doing that, honestly. Even as I went to class and studied and memorized these things, I did not see myself being in a government office and doing what I was learning. The only class that I attended and I was excited about was communication, and we also did industrial psychology. And I was so fascinated with it, and I loved it. I loved industrial psychology. And when I look at what I'm doing now as a motivational speaker, it makes sense why I was attracted to that subject. Wow. Yeah, and it was very exciting 3 years at TNT. Fortunately, I passed the record time, 91, 92, 93. And 92, by the way, I founded, speaking to the founder of the first black campus radio station in this country. 1992, on the 20th of February, I founded, remember, this pioneering spirit, this doing spirit, from that club, a youth club in Mathabe, doing this thing, I'm a doer, So I noticed that there was nothing for me on campus. It was basketball, for obvious reasons, taking my height, I couldn't play it. Soccer, I couldn't play it. And I was like, what else can I do? There was fires. There was a newspaper that we started, TNT Update. We started a newspaper with a few friends of mine, to do a newspaper, for the students.
Yeah.
Then one day I had an idea, we might as well do radio on campus.
Wow.
It's just a fresh idea. I had never even heard of any radio on any campus anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just a fresh one, guys. Let's also do radio. And you know what, Brasem, in 1992, when we started Radio TNT, because I called a few friends of mine, same thing, just like in Mathabe when I called a few young people to come dance with me.
Yeah.
In the campus, I called a few friends, put a notice on the campus board. Guys, we are starting a radio station. Anybody who wants to join us, come and see us at this room or whatever venue. We chose the cafeteria.
Yeah.
The number of the young guys who came interested. These guys came and it was so many of us. Others were engineers, by the way. They didn't want to be on air. It was just guys who said, no, can help you build I remember one guy was saying that he can help us build a pirate transmitter. Young people are very interested, Joe. If you want things done, give them to young people. Yeah. So we're young and raw, and this young one said, no, we can do a transmitter, and this one says, no, I can help with music. This one says, no, I used to work for 5FM, and there's some guy called David Mafasa from Telvisa.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I did a moonlighting on 5FM. I have an idea of radios. I can help you guys out. And there were so many of us, and there we were. And we started this radio station. Started by this young man from Mathabe, with this idea. Guys, let's start a station. And as we speak today, Radio TUT, Soshanguve campus, is still there. Started 20th of February.
Is it now one of the? Is it registered as a community radio station, or it's just limited to the campus?
Well, it is. I think it's now a community radio station because they're even hiring young people from Soshanguve, from in and around Soshanguve, who are not necessarily students at the campus, who just come in and work there. It's
so you left the legacy there, man.
I left it, yes. I mean, and I don't like talking too much about this anymore, but I remember somebody called me the other day after hearing on Kaya FM, T-Bost, when he told his story of radio. Or no, I started my radio on campus, TNT.
Yeah.
And I was interviewed by one short guy, but Ashifa Shaba, I interviewed that. I remember interviewing them in my room. And I was sitting there like, these guys who are powerful guys in movies, and it's like a drug dealer or a gangster boss.
Yeah.
Just sitting in my room on my single bed, and these guys are coming in, and I say, Ita, sharp. So what do you do? No, I want to be on radio, my brother. Okay. So, let me hear you. And that was the interview and the audition.
Yeah.
You want to do radio? I'm listening.
Yeah, man.
That I did to Shaba, by the way, Ashifa Shaba.
Yeah.
Most fortunately, there were auditions. We held auditions, and then lots of them came in '93 in my third year, which was my third year.
Yeah.
And when I was doing third year, I started to focus on my studies because I wanted to finish this thing, radio, so I could go join Radio Bob. Because for me, Radio TNT would give me an opportunity to fine-tune my skills, improve my English and my content. For what? For Radio Bob. I was preparing for Radio Bob simply, And
Wow.
93, I auditioned to all these young guys, which was Mukweli, and they came in. Then, we hired him and so many others. And, I'm so happy that I hear, I hear, he used to be on Tobela FM.
Yeah.
And there was a lady, Mushupoloho. She was also on
Uh-huh.
Tobela FM.
Yeah.
Mushupoloho.
Yeah.
Shupi. Hey! Ask Shupi.
How? Man.
Hey!
We need to reach out to them, It's amazing how great things start.
It's just amazing. And there would be others who would tell me that, hey, Ed, you don't remember, you did this for me when I was at TNT. I was like, really, I would have forgotten about some of this guy, Yeah.
Wow.
And then there it was, 93 I finished and passed, fortunately, my public administration, although I wanted to quit two times. 92, remember I started there in 91, and in 92, I tried actually to quit to join one station in Venda called the Big T. Yeah, the Big T. Yeah. And then they turned me down, and then I went back to school to finish, to do my second year. Third year, I decided, you know what, let me just do the final year. Plus, we started our own gig of radio TNT. So, hey, might as well continue to fine-tune my skills. Then when I finished at TNT, then I was my diploma and radio skills. And then I went straight to join Radio Pop. And that was the beginning of my radio career there.
Wow. Let's hold it there and we'll take it from there when we come back. This is a beautiful story.
Thank you.
We'll be back just now.
All right, thanks, Mathabe.
Yeah.